Well, hello. Welcome back to Soul Search Sunday with Johnny Tiger. The date is July 17, 2022. One second while I adjust my headset because it is falling off my overly large head. Having a big head is a bit of a curse sometimes. Hard to buy hat, hard to buy headset. And my headset tend to get worn out, stretched out, and after a while, the arm of the headset tend to start cracking and breaking. However, the one I'm using right now, the one that you guys have seen countless times on the video, is luckily made of some very durable material. So far it's holding together, but it is getting a bit loose. So I don't know. Just the other day, I actually have to do some DIY home repair because the ear muffs on my headset, the cup that go over the ear, the fabric was coming apart and the stuffing inside was all leaking out and getting rather disorderly. So I had to take some needle and thread and patch up the rip in the fabric so it's not leaking stuffing every time I take the headset off or putting it back on. Anywho, we are not here to talk about my big head or my headset. Um, Today, I want to talk a little bit about how to best minimize SID, SID. What is SID? It's self-inflicted drama. Self-inflicted drama. These are things that could have been avoided, and yet we somehow walked right into it. We dug a hole and dig ourselves deeper and deeper and deeper. We open our big mouth and stick our foot right in it. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes things like that happen because none of us is perfect. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. No one's perfect. Sometimes we're governed by emotion. Sometimes we're governed by uh, adrenaline. Sometimes we're governed by just a need to express ourselves. And sometimes things just happen. There are a lot of bad things that just happen in your lifetime without you having any control over. For example, I did not have any control over coming down with Steven Johnson syndrome at the age of 3 and going blind and going deaf in 1 year. I did not have any control to being dragged, kicking and screaming uh, to come and live in a foreign country when I was a child. None of that I had any control over. However, we must also take responsibility that there are a lot of things that happen to us, bad things, that probably were instigated, caused by us in one fashion or another. But fear not, because in the end, while you cannot prevent it 100% of the time, even maybe 80% of the time, it is possible to minimize self-inflicted drama in your lifetime as long as you always remember the three golden rules before acting. The three golden rules are: don't lose control of your mouth, don't lose control of your hands, and don't lose control of your brain. Very simple, right? But a lot of us have problem follow through or keeping track of all three of these don'ts. Let's start with the most obvious. Don't lose control of your mouth. Some people are thinking, okay, so that means don't say something bad or stuff like that. Well, yes and no. I don't know if you guys believe in karma, but for those of you that do, here's a little fact that kind of blew my mind when I first heard it, but it totally makes sense. In Buddhism, in the study of karma, it is said that just doing good things is not enough because every time you say something negative about somebody, it doesn't matter if it's deserved or not, doesn't matter if it's uh, uh, triggered or instigated by someone else or not. Anytime you open your mouth and something negative come out, you are accumulating bad karma. So you don't only get bad karma when you kill somebody. Just the fact that if you say that you're going to kill somebody, if you say it often enough, that bad karma is almost as severe as that you actually did it. Wow. Like when I first heard that, I was like, wow, that's kind of serious stuff. And yet it makes so much sense because a lot of time in our lifetime, we don't get into trouble just because we did something. Sometimes we just talk about something, we talk about someone at the wrong time in the wrong place, and that can get us into some seriously self-inflicted drama. Now, for those who don't believe in karma, that's it. Well, there's no such thing. It's not scientific. There's no reincarnation, nothing like that. Here is a real life example of how losing control of your mouth can get you into way more drama than it was warranted. This happened a couple of years ago to a famous Chinese, Taiwanese supermodel television host. This uh, lady, I'm not going to give her full name, but her uh, last name is Tao, Tao, Tao. So Tao, this Chinese celebrity, was interviewed, and they asked her, um, "So you have such a good family, and your child is so beautiful and talented. Why don't you uh, enter your child into one of those talent shows that's on TV right now? Your child would be so great on those shows." And Tao, and right there during the interview on TV in front of thousands of people, said, "Oh, well, I don't think that's something I will do because I have enough money. I'm not hard up for money. I have great self-esteem. I don't need people's approve to approve my children. I don't need people to know my personal private business. I'm not that desperate." Now think about what she just said. It sounds to you and I, right? It sounds like something. Yeah, okay, sound okay. She expressed herself. Uh, it doesn't sound like that big of a deal, right? However, as soon as she said that, she started getting backlashes on her social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, from her fans, from people that loved and adored her, especially people who have entered their children into talent shows. People were angry. People were like, so what you meant to say was those of us who enter our children into a show, we are desperate. We don't have as much money as you. We have low self-esteem. That's what you said. You said you are not going to enter your child into the contest because you don't have self-esteem issue, because you have enough money and you're not desperate. So that insinuating the rest of us don't have self-esteem, that we are we're hard up for money. After a couple of days, uh, when this became a lot of pressure for Tao on social media, she was again being interviewed, and the reporter said, "Oh, we hear that there's been a lot of backlashes on your social media. Do you have anything to say to your fan?" This was when Tao made the same mistake. Again, she lost control of her mouth. Rather than just politely say, "Hey guys, just cool it, okay? Like I didn't mean it that way. I probably could have chosen my word better." No, Tao did not apologize. She did not try to patronize people. She did not try to pacify her fan. She said, "Oh, guys, you guys are so right. Why don't we all enter our children into the talent show? After all, children need to be challenged. They need hardship in their life. It's great to put our children out there in front of the whole world so pedophiles can look at them, right?" She got sarcastic. And just like that, her entire career was basically snuffed out. All her contracts are canceled, especially what she forgot was most of her contract, her television show, her appearances in movies and different uh, uh, shows and programs were actually with the TV channel, the TV station that hosted a lot of these talent shows for children. So you see, this is one of those examples where when we look at it from our point of view, yeah, what she said wasn't quite wrong, but she forgot where she was, who she was, and her what role she played. If you are a celebrity, you need to play nice with people. You need to play nice with your fan. You need to play nice with whoever you rely on to give you contract, to give you opportunities. You cannot afford. It doesn't matter how famous you are. You cannot afford to bite the hand that feeds you. Now, if you need more examples of what happened to people when they let their mouth uh, get away with it, they lose control of their mouth. I'll just remind you to take another look, a closer look at Donald Trump, the former president of the United States. He's probably the best example of something like that in the whole world. So when we go through our daily life, sometimes it is very important to remember while opening your mouth, expressing your anger and frustration, and being sarcastic and being spiteful and use some bad language and say something really mean to hurt the other person, it would feel so good. Yes, it would be very satisfying. Yes, it would be very therapeutic. Yes, but sometimes that karma will come back and haunt you, if not immediately, almost certainly somewhere down the line. You never know what you say today may come back and haunt you 10 years later. You never know if someone you make fun of today, while you don't think it's a big deal, that person may be the doctor in ICU 10 years down the line when your life is on the line and you actually need them to be nice to you. So always measure your words, always pay attention to what come out of your mouth. It's very important and a great way to reduce self-inflicted drama in your life. Number two, control your hands. This is very important in a society we live in today because a lot of businesses, a lot of social interactions are conducted on social media. You're typing, you're texting, and sometimes it's so easy to send a text that to you may sound funny or well timed, but when you get to the other end, it's going to totally lose its context and it may turn into something that, like a wildfire, totally out of your control. Here is another real life example. This one actually from my own past. About 10 years ago, I witnessed something like this, and it's a great example of uh, people need to have more control over their hands. Um, Back when I was working in an office environment, I had a coworker. We just call her Mary. Now, Mary was a kind of low tier newbie, like a low level uh, worker in the office. Wasn't making a lot of money. Was a single mother. So Mary was financially not very stable, but she had a stable job with the office, so she was okay. Mary's supervisor, we'll call her Catherine, made more money. However, because Catherine had to raise two or three children and pay off student loan and all that stuff, so Catherine, the supervisor, uh, tend to use her off work time to market for Cutco knife. Now, for those of you who don't know, Cutco knife is a super expensive brand of kitchen knife. They also sell kitchen utensils and camping knife, hunting knife, and gardening tools. And it's like quite pricey. We are talking about like $200 for a meat cleaver and $60 for a single steak knife or something like that, right? So Cutco knife is something that a lot of people kind of try to avoid because it's really expensive. So a lot of time, Catherine, the supervisor, like I said, she tried to subsidize her own income by also being a Cutco knife representative and always posting pictures on the internet, on her social media. And one day, now I heard all this after the fact, but basically what happened one day when Mary, my coworker, was browsing on social media, she saw her supervisor's post about Cutco. And in a moment of weakness, she quickly typed a comment. She said, "These are some seriously good knives," and put a smiley face and sent it. Again, if we just take this action as what it is. It's very innocent. Okay, I see you post about Kako, but I send a comment. These are seriously good knives. Nothing wrong with that. However, however, uh, next next minute, the supervisor Catherine came back with a text that said, "Oh, I'm glad you think so. I have a set of steak knife I'm giving away for free. I would be happy to give them to you. I'll bring them to the office tomorrow." And then Mary sent a reply, "Great! I'm visiting my parents at the end of the month. This will make a great Christmas gift for them." Next, the supervisor, Catherine, responded, "Oh, no, no, you can't just give steak knife for Christmas. Tell you what, because we work in the same place and you have been such a good worker, I'm going to sell you this whole set of knives that usually costs 1,000. I'm just going to give it to you for 600. That's a great deal only because we are friends. I'll bring them tomorrow." Long story short, Mary, who barely made enough to keep herself alive, ended up buying this set of super expensive Cutco knife from her supervisor because she just kept digging herself in deeper and deeper with every response that she got to the point where she couldn't get out of it without offending her supervisor. Yeah, sounds like a ridiculous story, but it's a true story. And when we look at this story, we can see if at any point Mary would just respond and say, "Hey, thanks, but I really can't afford something like this. But tell you what, I'm happy to share it with my friends, share your post with my friends. And I know some people that definitely look for nice like that. If she would post something like this, she wouldn't have gotten cornered into buying these knives. How often have we gotten into traps like that because we can't tell our hands to be still and don't type a response or stop long enough to think? How can we best respond without digging ourselves into another hole? So both point one and point two basically say you do not want to act before you think. You don't want to open your mouth before you process the words with your brain. You don't want to type things with your hand, do things with your hand before you have time to think about what those hands are going to type or do. So let's look at the third one. Don't lose control of your brain. And some people say, well, now that doesn't make sense. You already said don't let your hands and your mouth get ahead of your brain. So now you're targeting the brain. What's that all about? Because a lot of time, this is the one that's going to get us into the most serious trouble. Is when we let our brain get ahead of itself. Meaning, we think that we are going to do something super, super clever, and then it's come back and bite ourselves in the butt. And this tends to happen to people who are very clever, are very smart, or people who think they're very smart, and they'll do something so ridiculously stupid that you wonder what happened. How can you be so dumb? Well, the reason is they let their brain get ahead of their mind, their thinking process. They let their brain run away with them. A great example, again, to my personal tragedy, uh, and I actually told this story before, so I'm going to keep it a little bit short, was when I went to guide dog school to try to get a guide dog. When I went to guide dog school, on the first day, I already had problem with the guy who was the head trainer at the guide dog school because the head trainer was this very kind of like a dictatorship. Was you do it my way or no way. You don't like it my way, you go home. That kind of guy, very authoritative. At least he tried to act like he was. That didn't sit very well with me. So I decided from day one I'm going to do two things. First, I was going to be that perfect student. I was going to be so perfect that you couldn't find anything wrong with me. Second, I was going to do everything I could to annoy him as long as I stay within the bounds of my rights. Great. Sounded like a great plan, right? I mean, at least it sounded like a great plan to me. I was thinking, well, so what if you're the head trainer? If I'm the best student in this school. I'm the best there is. I'm so perfect that you can't find any fault with me. That's going to piss you off so bad that when I spend every day trying to go against your wishes, and yet you still have to give me a guide dog. Nee, 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 I'm so awesome. Wrong. The day before graduation, He kicked my ass out of the school. No reason given. At least no valid reason. The only reason he gave me was, after careful consideration, I decided you are not suited for a guide dog. Sorry, bye. I was crushed, flabbergasted. I was shocked. I was totally emotionally wrecked because I did so well. I was perfect. How could this happen to me? How could it happen? Because I let my brain got ahead of myself. I forgot the most important fact. He was the one who could call the shot. He could do anything he wanted. I had no say in the matter. I was so busy trying to prove how clever I was. I was so busy trying to see how much I could piss the guy off. I forgot my own mission. My mission of I was here to get a guide dog, nothing else. So, yeah, I totally deserved that one. So, in the end, like I said, drama is going to occur in our lifetime. Bad things going to happen. There's going to be troubles and struggles and toils and dips in the road, whatever you want to call it. But we can totally make it happen a lot less if we remember to not to lose control of our mouth, our hands, and our brain.